Fans of PlayStation VR have a reason to celebrate after Sony announced several new features that will be present in the upcoming follow-up to its virtual reality headset. In a press conference that took place August 3 behind closed doors for prospective developers for the new VR system, Sony indicated the direction it intends to go in with VR on the PlayStation 5. The first piece of news to come out of this press conference is about the name of the system itself. Instead of simply being referred to as PSVR 2, the new system is currently being called NGVR, which stands for Next Generation Virtual Reality. This is similar to what was initially named Next Generation Portable and eventually became the PS Vita, suggesting the Next Gen VR may adopt a new name by the time it's released. The second topic covered in the press conference was the hardware. The new headset will feature Fresnel OLED lenses, with a resolution of 2000x2040 which gives the headset a 4K HDR display. This is in contrast to the original PSVR's OLED display with a resolution of 1920x1080. Also, the NGVR's field of vision is going to be 110 degrees, 10 degrees more than the original PSVR. Processes such as flexible scaling, foveated rendering, and eye tracking will be implemented in order to reduce strain on the player's eyes as well as the PS5's hardware. The controllers will have adaptive triggers as well as capacitive touch sensors for the player's thumbs, index, and middle fingers, which will sense the fingers' positions on the controllers. The third and arguably most important topic covered in the showcase was the direction Sony intends to go in regarding the system's games. As opposed to VR experiences, which describes most VR games up to this point, Sony wants to host AAA titles for the system in the form of hybrid games which would be playable with or without VR. Players who purchase these games would be able to download either VR, non-VR, or both versions. In regard to backwards compatibility, Sony says they intend to make some original PSVR games available on the next-gen VR. Although we have already discussed about these specs and patents for the VR, it's good to hear from Sony themselves. With the release of this new information regarding a move away from VR experiences, Sony makes it clear that they want to change how people see VR from a gimmicky attachment to their console to potentially the best way to play some of their games. As technology continues to advance, VR may begin to take on a new role in gaming, and Sony wants to be at the forefront of that. The first PlayStation VR has been a success for Sony. Sales are expected to be over 5 million, which is good for something that could be considered a niche device. But with virtual reality being a new technology, advancements have been coming quickly. Other VR developers such as Oculus have released several devices like the Oculus Quest 2 since Sony's headset launched with improvements such as wireless VR. As such, Sony needs to innovate. Sony Interactive Entertainment Incorporated has just applied for a new US patent for a HMD, or head-mounted display, invented by Rushinshin from San Mateo, California. The patent is titled Display Screen Front Panel of HMD for viewing by users viewing the HMD player, and seems to show a secondary display on the outside of the headset for users not wearing the headset to view. The player using the headset would be viewing the screen inside the device, while people not wearing the headset would be able to view what is happening by watching the screen on the outside of the device. The PSVR 2 is rumored to be using OLED displays. The patent also talks of a PlayStation VR camera taking a facial scan of the user before they put on the headset, and then combining that with a second scan done by the headset to create an image of the user's face to display on the outer screen to other people who are not wearing the headset. Furthermore, the patent goes on to show examples of the users changing emotions that are then displayed on the outer screen for others to see. While this may seem like a bit of an odd feature, anyone who has used a VR headset in a room with other people will know that it can be a disconnected experience. The user is unable to see what others in the room are doing. A secondary outer display could let non-users see what is happening to the person playing the headset and become more involved with the experience. Another PlayStation VR patent shows a virtual AR assistant user can interact with. Still, a secondary display could lead to some interesting multiplayer game ideas with a single headset. PlayStation VR fans will just have to wait and see if such a feature makes its way into the final device. In the meantime, games like Moss Book 2 will have to keep PSVR players happy. Following the success of the PS5's Dualsense controller, a designer provides insight into the creation of haptic feedback and adaptive triggers. Recently, a designer that worked on the creation of the Dualsense controller provided a glimpse at some of the initial tests done on the project. For a relatively compact design, the Dualsense controller contains a lot of features. Speaking with IGN, Toshi Aoki, the product director for Sony, discussed some of the original tests pertaining to a couple of the biggest innovations of the Dualsense: haptic feedback and adaptive triggers. As both of these features were planned to be included in the controller's design from the start of the project, these tests detail some of the first attempts at using the technology in the Dualsense. The first of these two new features, haptic feedback, creates an extra level of realism for gamers when playing their favorite titles. Using advanced rumble technology, different sections of the controller would vibrate in relation to where the events on the screen took place, such as explosions or gunfire. Aoki said that early experiments with the technology for the controller included a demo with metal and plastic balls contained inside a box. By using motion sensors, those that tried the test were able to roll the balls around inside the box and feel the corresponding rumble from the on-screen objects through haptic feedback. In regards to the other new feature, adaptive triggers alter the amount of pressure needed to use the L2 and R2 trigger buttons based on the gameplay situation. The designers of the PS5 controller decided to utilize the feature with L2 and R2 triggers because of their frequent use when gaming. Based on Aoki's comments, these were the most used buttons on the DualShock 4. One of the main goals of the feature was to find ways to leverage the buttons to add to the sense of touch. According to the designer, the first tests of this new feature used a motion controller in VR. The results of these early tests set the framework for what adaptive triggers would become in the future, as Aoki said that it felt amazing. The DualSense controller has made quite the splash in the gaming community, with many praising its design. Regardless, Sony's newest controller has caused developers to rethink the way they develop their games. With titles such as Astro's Playroom taking full advantage of DualSense technology, it will be interesting to see what other games embrace these features moving forward. Speaking of the PlayStation 5, a Sony PlayStation 5 development kit, test kit, and two black DualSense controllers are put up for sale on auction site eBay. A console development kit is the hardware distributed by console manufacturers to game studios so that they can build and test their games. It's always cause for excitement in the gaming world when development kits for new consoles begin to be sent out. When a photo of an alleged PlayStation 5 dev kit leaked online in late 2019, it was a newsworthy event. And non-developers who managed to obtain a kit have a rare collector's item on their hands. Development kits are sold to software companies for prices ranging anywhere from a few $100s to several thousand. With the PlayStation 4, Sony loaned out dev kits to indie studios who otherwise might not have been able to afford the initial investment, and these were supposed to be returned to Sony after 1 year. However, in 2016, a PS4 development kit loaned to defunct studio United Front Games ended up selling in a bankruptcy auction. According to some reports, a Sony employee was put to work recovering the auction dev kit. For a few hours, two PlayStation 5 development kits appeared for sale on eBay. Being sold as a pair along with two black DualSense controllers, the auction for the DFID 1000AA dev kit and DFIT 1000AA test kit received 12 bids and reached €2,850, approximately $3,373, before eBay pulled the listing. It's unclear why the auction was removed, since the seller may have legitimately purchased the dev kit from Sony, but the console manufacturer might have requested it. A PS5 development kit being sold less than a year after the console's launch is probably neither an ideal nor legal situation due to NDAs. For a non-developer, purchasing a console development kit is primarily for the novelty, because the user license expires after a set period of time and must be renewed regularly by the developer to access any files on the hardware. Likewise, most dev kits cannot play retail versions of games. In fact, in 2014, Microsoft launched its ID at Xbox initiative that allowed indie developers to convert a retail Xbox One into a development kit. However, non-developers were warned away from fiddling with the options in the developer settings menu because doing so could render the console entirely unusable. console development kits being distributed to game studios is a thrilling time for the gaming community because it signals that a new generation of consoles is close at hand. The dev kit also provides insight into the potential technical prowess of the retail version of the game console. And because images of the development kit inevitably leak online, the kits rarely resemble the finished product and therefore provide a unique showpiece for collectors. While the Nintendo Switch and upcoming Steam Deck have shown that there is still demand for portable game consoles, Sony hasn't attempted to get back into the handheld space since the PlayStation Vita. Thankfully, a modder has created a fully portable PlayStation 2 system allowing players to play proper PS2 games in their entirety. Releasing worldwide in 2005, the PlayStation Portable did have some PlayStation 2 ports such as God of War Chains of Olympus, Tekken 5, The Warriors, and Tony Hawk's Underground 2 Remix. While these games were PS2 titles, in many cases they had to be scaled back to run on the weaker hardware of the handheld. Sony's follow-up to the PSP, the PlayStation Vita, launched across the globe in 2012 with vastly upgraded hardware, allowing the system to run much more impressive PS2 titles like Persona 4 Golden, Final Fantasy X HD Remaster, and God of War Collection. Still, the full PS2 library consisted of 1850 games, and even combining the PSP and PS Vita's libraries, only a fraction of PS2 games were playable in handheld form. YouTuber GingerOfOz made this device, called the PS2 Eclipse, by removing the motherboard from a PS2 Slim system, cutting it down, and placing it inside a 3D printed shell. The controls supplied by using PS Vita buttons and Nintendo Switch joysticks. As it uses parts obtained from a PS2 Slim system, the handheld is able to play all PlayStation 2 games as they would play on their original hardware. Being that the aim of the project was portability, GingerOfOz omitted the PS2's disk drive, as it would have significantly increased the size and battery drain of the device, which is only around 2.5 hours, to begin with. While some powerful tablets and the Steam Deck may be able to handle PS2 emulation to some degree, emulation always comes with its own challenges. The PlayStation 2 used a unique architecture that doesn't lend itself well to emulation. By using native hardware for his build, GingerOfOz sidesteps these issues and allows the games to play at full speed as designed, with no finicky emulation layer. The project isn't perfect, however. The aforementioned lack of a disk drive, while understandable, means games must be loaded through USB, slowing some load times to a crawl. Also, for reasons not understood by GingerOfOz, not all PlayStation 2 titles recognize the controller, making them unplayable. Projects such as this show that there is still a market for Sony portable consoles, despite Sony not wanting to take another try. Even though Nintendo has always been king in the handheld domain, the PlayStation Portable was a successful device, selling 80 million units. Despite excellent games like Uncharted, Golden Abyss, the PS Vita was far less successful, leading to Sony exiting the portable market and focusing strictly on home consoles. So far, that strategy seems to be working as demand for its latest PlayStation 5 consoles far exceed what Sony has been able to supply. Still, it's not hard to imagine how great a real PlayStation 2 handheld could have been. Speaking of the PlayStation 2, a package designer hired by Sony shows off prototype PlayStation 2 boxes, and the unusual design is unlike any other box to this day. Packaging design for game boxes, especially for consoles, is relatively consistent these days. No matter what art is printed on the cover, the box is always a plastic rectangle or, for collector's editions, sometimes a metal rectangle. Back when gaming was still establishing itself as a long-lasting industry, though, companies were willing to be a lot more experimental with designs. The Sony PlayStation 2 remains to this day the best-selling home video game console of all time, with a massive library of classic games, many of which are still unavailable on modern systems. The PS2 standardized a packaging design similar to a standard DVD case, with an additional slot to store a memory card above the disc, but it could have turned out very differently as shown by a box prototype. The prototype, created by designer Hawkwa Yeo, features an unusual clamshell design, where the disc is stored in a large circular structure at the top. The case opens upward, as opposed to the standard side-opening design, and reduces the size of the box art to emphasize the disc shape. The box's ridged design is reminiscent of the original PlayStation's box design, before the game's transition from large plastic boxes to standard CD cases. Sadly, the design was rejected and replaced with a box closer to standard modern box designs and making it more difficult to distinguish game from console. Sony likely did not choose this design because retailers would have become annoyed with its unusual form factor, which was a major point of contention with Hawk Wa-Yo's other package designs. Before the PlayStation 2 prototype, Hawk Wa-Yo has a portfolio of striking packaging going all the way back to the 1980s. He is the mind behind the infamous Spectre box that would become damaged when stacked due to a protruding plastic triangle, the highly kinetic Ultrabots box that physically separated and moved like a robotic arm, and even some iconic NES games with his early work at Broderbund Software. The PlayStation 2 prototype box design looks nonsensical by modern standards, and admittedly has disadvantages when compared to the design Sony decided to go with. The standard design has a lot of space for end labels, which are crucial for organization and ease of access for physical discs. No one wants to spend minutes pulling each game off a shelf to find a specific one. However, the design would have stood out against the competition at the time, with the Xbox using standard DVD-sized cases, and the GameCube boxes taking on a similar form factor. Even if the box prototypes are unusual, Sony playing it safe and going with a more traditional design may not have been the best move. An important fact about Hawk Wa-Yo's box design methods is how much they would drive sales. The original Prince of Persia's sales tripled when its standard case was replaced with the iconic trapezoid box. There's arguably a lot of anticipation about what 2K games will be releasing next. Given that there are rumors going around about how the studio may be collaborating with the XCOM developer on a Marvel game, there's bound to be some speculations flying around among the community about what comes next for the company. While there are still uncertainties about what's going to be next on its list, a recent report from parent company Take-Two Interactive says 2K will be making an announcement soon. In a document that reports on Take-Two's quarterly results, the company has said that 2K Games will be making an announcement about its next new franchise. While the report doesn't specify what this project will be, it does say that it will be an exciting franchise which will be launching during this fiscal year. Considering that Take-Two Interactive's fiscal year ends on March 31, 2022, the game is then expected to launch sometime in the first few months of 2022. Also, they have teased that they are working on 6 remasters/remakes. In that 6, 3 of them are unannounced games, which could be the rumored GTA Trilogy remakes that includes GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas, which is great. As part of its report, Take-Two included a section titled Pipeline Details breaking down its upcoming game releases. For example, it has 4 immersive core titles releasing in the fiscal year 2022, including NBA 2K22, WWE 2K22, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, and an unannounced game from 2K. It also lists 6 new iterations of previously released titles, with 3 of them being the 2 previously mentioned GTA products and Kerbal Space Program for next-gen. That leaves 3 unannounced games. Unlike with immersive core projects, however, Take-Two doesn't note which of its subsidiaries are working on the 3 unannounced new re-releases. That means that these projects could be anything from any of its 5 publishing or 24 studio subsidiaries. And while the other projects in this category imply it's only for games being released on new platforms or in different packages, it's likely also intended for remakes and remasters too. The immediate fan reaction to this news is easy to predict. Rockstar Games is incredibly popular and fans would love to see any number of its past releases get re-released on PS5 and Xbox Series X and S, or remastered or remade for a new generation of players. Rumors and speculation are already thick within the Rockstar fandom, and have been there for a very long time. Red Dead Redemption and Bully remakes are constantly discussed, as well as classic Grand Theft Auto releases. Rockstar isn't the only Take-Two subsidiary that could see some upcoming game re-releases, however. 2K could put together any number of BioShock, Borderlands, Civilization, or XCOM bundles. Take-Two's indie publisher Private Division could also put together an edition of The Outer Worlds collecting the game and its DLC. Needless to say, there are a lot of exciting possibilities stemming from Take-Two's confirmation of 3 upcoming iterative releases. And it's worth repeating that these titles are planned for FY 2022, which should end March 2022. Expect to hear some announcements from Take-Two's subsidiaries in the relatively near future, but it's probably healthy to not expect any major Grand Theft Auto re-releases or the like. There are likely to be numerous theories as to what the franchise will be. One source suggests it's possible it could be something from the developers of the Civilization games. Of course, the downside to this theory is that the Civ games are not part of a new franchise. For 2K Games to be announcing something new, it would have to be something that's not already part of a franchise. This is perhaps where the rumored Marvel game arguably makes more sense. This speculation says that developer Firaxis is possibly making the Marvel strategy game, which will be published by 2K Games. The leak comes from Reddit and has, so far, been unverified. While there have been no official confirmations about whether the studio will be working on this new game, fuel was added to the fire when an insider commented that they were wondering whether fans would notice the leak. However, this doesn't confirm the rumor nor does it deny it, either. As of now, there is very little to go on. With the quarterly result report only dedicating a single sentence to mentioning 2K Games' upcoming announcement, it's pretty much impossible to say what the new franchise could be, no matter how exciting it may be. Currently, all eyes and ears are on Tiny Tina's Wonderland, which recently had its launch window revealed. But equally, the community is likely going to be interested to hear what 2K Games will be coming up with next, whether it's the rumored Marvel strategy game or not. In the era of streaming services like Netflix and Hulu standing as massive pillars of the television and films industry, many gaming companies have looked to follow suit with their own take on the subscription model. Services like PlayStation Now and Xbox Game Pass promise massive libraries of games for a low monthly fee, and even Netflix has stepped into game streaming. Not only do these streaming services boast large catalogs of completed games, but these offerings are typically updated every month. Many new releases, like Atlus's time-bending RPG Chris Tales, find their way into the streaming libraries as the member count of these services grows. However, for fans of franchises like Grand Theft Auto and Borderlands, the idea of new titles releasing on the service is not in the foreseeable future, according to a recent statement from publisher Take-Two's CEO. During a recent earnings call, Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick gave his stance surrounding the finances of working with subscription-based services. Zelnick said that while subscription services often make sense for older games in a company's catalog, the business model does not make sense for what he referred to as frontline titles. Within the statement, Zelnick made reference also to the differing natures of TV/films and games in a streaming environment, suggesting that subscription models don't make sense for video game players, who will often focus most of their time on a small selection of titles. However, Zelnick would not rule out the concept of streaming services as a means of appealing to a wider audience. He stated that the company as a whole considers itself open-minded, and made reference to the company previously making catalog titles available through services like PlayStation Now and Xbox Game Pass. Titles like Grand Theft Auto 5 and Red Dead Online have seen limited stints on Xbox Game Pass, with GTA 5 leaving Game Pass at the end of July. Sean Layton also shared his thoughts on these services, and it makes sense, because selling games is better. Take-Two has also shared some numbers on its games, as GTA 5 has surpassed 150 million copies sold, and the whole GTA franchise had sold 350 million copies, which is breathtaking. This is good news for Rockstar, but maybe bad for us, as this can delay GTA 6 even further. And with the continued support for GTA Online, GTA 6 can be even further. Assuming Grand Theft Auto Online receives a complete overhaul with GTA 6's release, there are aspects of GTA Online that a sequel could improve. When it initially launched, Grand Theft Auto 5's multiplayer component was still under development and was eventually delayed to accommodate the single-player release. However, the sprawling GTA multiplayer experience the game has become today is nothing like what Grand Theft Auto Online launched as. Surprisingly, there was a time in GTA Online's short history where the multiplayer offering wasn't nearly as popular as it is now. A lack of meaningful content, tons of connection issues, among other things, marred the release of GTA V's multiplayer mode. Now, GTA Online has ballooned in size, and has quickly become one of the most popular games ever made. As for Grand Theft Auto 6, development is ongoing and largely remains a mystery for now. Rockstar Games is reportedly not planning to release GTA 6 until several years from now, supposedly around 2025. Of course, in the meantime, Rockstar Games will continue to support the current iteration of Grand Theft Auto Online. However, it is interesting to consider how GTA Online will evolve alongside Grand Theft Auto 6's release, because it does genuinely bring up a lot of questions. Will the existing version of GTA Online be rendered obsolete in favor of GTA 6's version? Or will it be something far more ambitious that adopts a similar design? A new Grand Theft Auto Online would undoubtedly have to surpass its current iteration, assuming it will be revised alongside Grand Theft Auto 6's eventual release. Fan expectations will be high regardless, but many will expect new and innovative ways for players to similarly sink hundreds of hours into the game as they have with GTA Online currently. GTA Online's potential sequel should be more than just CEOs, bunkers, and cargo run missions again, though those features wouldn't be wildly unwelcome. However, iterating on GTA Online, fans are expecting Rockstar Games to innovate the multiplayer experience beyond what's in GTA Online already. Regardless of what those innovations become, Grand Theft Auto Online should still implement an incremental approach to content that the current iteration of the multiplayer mode has done. Things like offices and gun running being immediately available in GTA Online would be fine, but releasing the multiplayer experience in a top-heavy strategy could mean plenty of lag time between release and the next big update. GTA Online did a similar thing when businesses and apartments were added to the game, seemingly out of nowhere, and the Diamond Casino update coming years after. A new GTA Online should follow a more consistent roadmap so fans know what to expect. In terms of the specific content itself, the expectation of a new version of Grand Theft Auto Online is that the multiplayer mode reaches a similar extensiveness as the current version. However, even with similar content from the features already available in GTA Online, Rockstar Games will presumably want to innovate with new modes and features as well. Whether it's a different business metagame, various new crime missions, or entirely new criminal enterprises, there's still plenty of potential in expanding GTA Online. Assuming the Vice City rumors for Grand Theft Auto 6 are true, a new mainline game could provide plenty of gameplay variation. Obviously, with a Miami theme, there's plenty of potential for Vice-themed activities for players to participate in. Drug running in planes, trafficking in boats, negotiating drug deals, and other crimes typical in a Vice City setting would make sense for Grand Theft Auto Online. A new setting will always help to differentiate the culture and people in each Grand Theft Auto city, even though it doesn't rule out similar features from GTA Online reappearing in Grand Theft Auto 6's version. The bare minimum expectation would be that GTA Online doesn't just consist of bunkers and offices again, but rather new avenues of progression that's familiar but new. Regardless of what content is new or familiar, Grand Theft Auto Online needs to maintain the sheer degree of player freedom available in the game. Though the comparison isn't entirely accurate, GTA Online's progression and choices of business did give players MMO-like options for how they want to build their criminal empire. Of course, beyond choice of career, players need to be able to accessorize and customize their characters as extensively as they can already. Abundance of clothes and styles, and more importantly the ability to purchase/own several impressive cars, is pivotal to the GTA Online experience. Everyone loves to show off their collection. Of course, this is all assuming Grand Theft Auto Online becomes a whole new experience with Grand Theft Auto 6. There is the possibility Grand Theft Auto 5's version of multiplayer will somehow be integrated with the new Grand Theft Auto Online, but it's not likely. Nearly every Grand Theft Auto game has taken place in a completely separate city, with a new cast of characters and story. GTA Online will presumably receive the same treatment, despite the enduring popularity of its current iteration. That's also potentially why Grand Theft Auto 6's development is presumably taking longer, since GTA Online remains a huge success for Rockstar Games. These discussions are fruition of Take-Two's recent earnings call, and EA has also had theirs. As per Electronic Arts' recent earnings call, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is more certain than ever to happen, but there's a major catch to that. Sometimes, a game is so popular and does so well that a sequel is a given well before launch. This was true of major Sony exclusives like God of War, Horizon, and Spider-Man, and the same can be said of EA's major single-player Star Wars title, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Since its release at the end of 2019, however, it's been quiet around whether or not a sequel was actually happening, no matter how obvious it is. That is, until the most recent EA earnings call, where the company commented on the game. In fact, EA said it will continue to invest in the Jedi Fallen Order franchise. However, based on other news out of EA, that statement comes with one big caveat. First, it's worth looking at the exact wording from EA. The mention that it will continue to invest implies that it already has, and will continue supporting it for however long. Now, of course, this could simply mean the first release of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order and the support it received afterward, but chances are it means a proper sequel, maybe more. The key word here is franchise, and one game does not a franchise make. There are a lot of one-off games out there that are great on their own, and while many fans would not want to see that of Jedi Fallen Order, it would technically be possible. The end of the game asked, what's next? That's a question Cal and crew, as well as fans of the game, want to see answered. The idea of a franchise doesn't likely mean Star Wars as a whole, but the sub-franchise started by Jedi Fallen Order. As such, it's easy to read this as, and is likely to mean, that EA has already been investing in a sequel developed at Respawn Entertainment. It's a nod towards something many already believe to be happening anyway. However, despite this, the caveat means that it's not coming anytime soon. Prior to EA Play, the publisher did a good job of managing expectations. It confirmed several games and franchises that wouldn't be there, but it went a step further with Star Wars. As EA announced, not only would Star Wars not be there, and it wasn't, but it wouldn't announce any more Star Wars games. Its vision for the galaxy far, far away until 2022. This confirmation of sorts from EA's earnings call, as a result, won't turn into a full-blown announcement anytime soon. On the one hand, this makes sense given that the first game released in 2019. Even if development began on a sequel right away, less than 2 years have passed since then. On the other hand, the timing of the tweet and subsequent potential announcements is concerning. It could mean that new Star Wars games would be announced at next year's EA Play, meaning that fans may be lucky enough to get Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order 2 in 2022, but that 2023 is more likely. After all, there could be any number of announcements, and while Jedi Fallen Order 2 seems likely, it's not the only thing EA could be referencing. Either way, the best potential outcome is an early 2022 announcement followed by a fall 2022 release. But with the pandemic still bearing down on the gaming industry, anything could go. As such, the move from single game to franchise for Jedi Fallen Order 2 seems like a loaded gun, but no one knows when it will fire. Dragon Age fans have also been waiting years for news on the next entry in the series. Developer BioWare has long since confirmed that a new Dragon Age is coming, but the timeframe of its release is still unclear. Fans of the series are also anxiously waiting for news on Dragon Age 4, as some of BioWare's recent releases were disappointing for fans, and some are worried that the same could be true for the newest Dragon Age. However, BioWare's most recent release, Mass Effect Legendary Edition, was a success, as stated by EA. The Mass Effect series started around the same time as Dragon Age, and the recent remaster bundled together the first 3 games with visual improvements, and nearly all of the series' DLC on modern hardware. Mass Effect and Dragon Age have crossed over here, and there in the past, and the two series are built on a lot of the same DNA and design philosophies. However, the success of Mass Effect Legendary Edition may be better news for Dragon Age than many fans realize. Mass Effect Legendary Edition was a real treat for fans of the series. Not only did it bundle all of the games together, but it also featured a new build of the original Mass Effect that brought mechanical changes along with its visual improvements. Playing through all 3 games in a row with all of the content available is a special experience, especially for players who are revisiting some of their favorite characters. In fact, the remastered Trilogy was so successful with fans that it encouraged many players to revisit the less popular Mass Effect Andromeda after completing it. Like Dragon Age, Mass Effect 4 is also currently in development at BioWare. For fans waiting on Mass Effect 4, and hoping it will compensate for some of Mass Effect's previous shortcomings, Mass Effect Legendary Edition provided a lot of hope. The game did not feature any new content that was too substantial, but it was emblematic of the developer hopefully recognizing what fans love about the original trilogy in the first place. This made those same fans feel a lot more excited for Mass Effect 4, as well as the game serving as a great bit of content for fans while they wait for the next entry in the series. Mass Effect Legendary Edition's success, however, could also influence how BioWare and EA handle the Dragon Age series while we wait for Dragon Age 4. With how well Mass Effect Legendary Edition performed both financially and critically, it would make a lot of sense for the companies to be considering a similar treatment for the original 3 Dragon Age games. Of course, it has been many years since Dragon Age Origins and Dragon Age 2 were first released, and they have never received an official remaster or port to more modern hardware. Dragon Age Inquisition is a more modern title, but the first 2 games in the series could have a lot of their visual elements improved. This would be even better for players who want to revisit the games to understand Dragon Age 4's story. Dragon Age 4 also seems to still be quite a ways out from releasing. Development of the game was reportedly restarted after Anthem failed to find an audience, leaving the development team to change the game's focus from a live service title to a more traditional RPG. Despite this change, EA and BioWare have shared very little about the game beyond just a few short teasers. Dragon Age 4 even skipped this year's EA Play Live event, leaving fans anxious to see it. This puts the series in a great position to tide fans over with a remaster of the original Dragon Age trilogy. Not only would that help keep fans engaged while Dragon Age 4 is in development, but it also would help drum up excitement for the new title, and could increase that game's sales as well. The game that would need the most work would undoubtedly be Dragon Age Origins. The game's visuals are the most dated, and a similar rebuilding to the first Mass Effect would bring about many welcome changes. However, Dragon Age 2 could also do with some mechanical changes. In Mass Effect Legendary Edition, Mass Effect had its mechanics updated to better align with the other 2 games. Something similar could be done to Dragon Age 2 to help the gameplay more strategically like Dragon Age Origins and Dragon Age Inquisition. Of course, the trilogy would also likely bundle together all of the trilogy's various DLC packs. This would be a great benefit for fans, as it would provide an easier way for them to get caught up on the series' lore and various characters that will all undoubtedly impact Dragon Age 4 and its villain. Another benefit of a trilogy remaster would be easing the process for save file imports. All 3 of the games have many choices for players to make that can have sprawling consequences across later games. As of now, importing save files can be a bit tricky with players having to re-enter their choices in another website to transfer them into Dragon Age Inquisition. A remastered trilogy would allow Dragon Age Inquisition to import these files more smoothly and make the experience seamless. It also could allow Dragon Age 4 to do so smoothly. This would help allow the newest entry in the series to properly compensate for the dedication of its fans by being able to bring back Dragon Age Origins' Warden character with better accuracy to each individual player's experience. Hopefully, players will get some more news on Dragon Age sometime soon. And that's all for the video, guys. Like and share the video for a greater audience. Comment your thoughts on the topics, and if you want to contribute for the growth of the channel, the link to my PayPal in the video's description and in the channel banner. Donations are always appreciated. Thanks for watching the video, subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon, and until then from SMPV it's goodbye.